And look, we're considering a serious quote of a man who was the principal writer of the Constitution of the United States and of the Declaration of Human Rights. This is a great man, Jefferson. Look what he had to say. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. This is fascinating how Jefferson had consciousness of this problem. And considering that the United States Federal Reserve Bank is privately owned, take a look at this quote of Jefferson. This is more serious. If the American people allow private banks to control the issuance of their currency, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all their property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Now let's take a look at a little example that Kepi brings up about the true American spirit. Let's see.
Take a look at this sentence that I've written for you here.
Work, per se, is divine.
All work, especially work that is done with dedication, is linked to the divine being and is linked to the core essence of the human being, which is good. One of the reasons why the United States took up the leadership in the world and really became the most developed country was that there, in general, every home, for example, has a workshop in the basement where they do things, build furniture, work with mechanics, whatever. These people like to dedicate themselves to action. So this issue of action is fundamental. In fact, it's fundamental for the human being to develop his own mind. Of course, now, there has to be a union between action or work, thought, and feeling. The three, each one being 1/3 of a person's life. If the person only stays in one, for example, he only stays in the feeling aspect, then he will be an unfirm person who has difficulty understanding things. If he only stays in reason, the rational aspect, a rationalist person is disagreeable. He is overly rational and sets up schemes for everything. He only has mathematical ideas. This is a very sick person. And if you only stay in action, without a basis of reason, and without a basis of feeling, of love, then it will be a malefic action. Now, there is a very important question here, that the world created such a negative idea about work that sometimes people who are 40 or 50 years old are already thinking about retiring, to simply do nothing anymore. And even though there is technical data about this, like that example in the United States where they pulled together many retired people in their 60s and older and created a number of factories. And these factories produced better than the other competitors and even generated better profits. Then, after a certain point, the malicious power there, the economically powerful people, bought out these factories that were producing similar materials as theirs in order to avoid competition, and then just closed them down.
So what is our solution? We've had in the past as our heritage a very pragmatic way, a very practical way of accomplishing things, coupled together with a very beautiful altruistic philosophy of life, that is, of working in benefit of others, of the society. Not this egoistic, parasitical attitude of taking from society everything that you can, me, everything for me. But this other way of seeing it, that if you contribute to society, then you benefit as a result. Kennedy put it this way, a very interesting way to see it. He said, look, I'm not trying to give people a bigger piece of the pie. I'm trying to make the pie bigger. Do you perceive? The more you contribute to society, the better the society is, the better for everybody, each one of us. So, we can see our solution as being twofold. One, we have to re-immerse ourselves in good action. This spirit of trying to do the best that you can in your work in benefit of others. And secondly, don't spend what you don't have. Don't go into debt to anybody so that the bankers no longer own our country. You know, force yourself into a lifestyle whereby you spend only what you earn. And in this way, this will help to bring back working well, because those who work well earn well. Now, in this next excerpt, look at this very original idea, the benefits of the demise of the stock market speculation. Now look, when we refer to the stock market, we don't mean the whole thing. We're talking about this $26 trillion that doesn't exist, this making money with money that is perturbing everything. This has to fall, this has to finish, this part. Okay, look at this idea.
So now, looking at the issue of speculation,
Benefits that arise with the fall in speculation. The fall of the stock exchange and banks and of speculation is what will save the United States.
exactly, this can save the United States if they notice the fact that the economy is not dependent on the stock market. Take a look now.
This fall in the stock exchange and banks will permit the human being to go back to work again.
And then,
Civilization will have an incredible development and reach Perusia.
Perusia is the period mentioned in the Apocalypse when the world will have 1,000 years of incredible progress and development.
The great era of justice and progress was here referred to by Kepi as Perusia. Different cultures have different names for it. I myself had the privilege of being very happily influenced by the late Reverend Martin Luther King and the way he put it. We are after the Promised Land, and now we have the science to do that. Now we perceive exactly what is the pathology involved that prevents us from living in the Promised Land. Individual pathology, the social pathology, and especially the pathology of those with economic power who are opposed to us living in the Promised Land. Now look, those of us who have more influence in society are obliged to consider what the best of the scientific community is showing to be the reality of our situation. And we, the people, must bring this type of analysis to their attention